Hey, and welcome to What a Mess podcast, where we adventure through life's messiness to discover the beauty on the other side. It's me, Latoya Dennis, your host, the Motivated Mom, and today's episode is Turning Pain into Purpose. We are going to explore the human spirit and our incredible power to convert life's challenges into a driving force of positive change. I had a chance to sit down with our guest, Brandice Daniel, to discuss how life and its imperfections and all of the messiness can drive us to explore our purpose and inspire others.
So I'm Brandice Daniel. I am the CEO and founder of Harlem's Fashion Row. Harlem's Fashion Row is a premier agency that connects designers of color to brands. And so we do that in a few different ways through collaborations, through events, through pipeline programs with HBCUs, and through brand strategy. And so we've been able to do things beyond what I could have ever imagined over these last 17 years. We have really amazing partnerships with we have one right now with Hugo Boss and Naomi Campbell. We just did one with HSN. Our first collaboration was with Nike and LeBron James. And so we get to work with a lot of really amazing brands, but even more, we get to work with a lot of really incredible designers of color. And it's really my mission. How do we kind of equal the playing field for designers of color? And I am a mom, first of all, to Sky, who is 8 years old. That's my daughter. I'm a wife. I've been married now for 10 years. I am a Southern girl. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm a great girlfriend. I love my friendships and I cherish them. I'm a believer. I am a big woman of faith. That is the foundation of every single thing that I do. And I'm a lover of life. I believe in you have to take risks, you have to take chances. We only get one life, so we really have to live that life. And I think the only way you live that life really is when you decide that you're going to be courageous, take risk, take cliff jumps. And actually, I'm going to show you on the back. There's my cliff jump poster. Take cliff jumps and really, I don't know, stretch ourselves, right? And see what life has in store for us. There are so many painful, messy moments in my life that it's interesting. I know the question was that turned into purpose, but I think they were defining moments for me and character building moments for me. That prepared me for like the next thing. Last year was really, really tough. No matter what it looks like on social media, last year tried me in every way. It tried my health. It tried my business. It tried my home. Like last year was just a really tough year. And there were times where I wondered, are we going to make it through this year? Like, am I going to, I think I got to the end of September and I looked at where we were as a business. And I was like, how are we going to make it through Q4? Like, what are we going to do? And it was that moment where I literally felt like it was about to break me, that I said to a friend of mine, you know what? In order for me to get through these last 3 quarters, I need a faith partner because I don't know how this is about to happen. Looking at all the bills that we owe, looking at my payroll, looking at the lack of kind of Q4 opportunities that we had. Last year was definitely one of my hardest years. And I started meeting with a friend. Every single day we did a phone call. And on that phone call, we would basically go out 3 months and speak everything that had happened or everything we wanted to happen as if it had already happened. And I would agree with her, and I would put all my energy into it and say, Chris, oh my gosh, you'd never believe this opportunity just came and this just happened and we just finished payroll. And, we had those conversations every day. And that was the way that I kept my faith going. And because of that, we're still doing it. And not every day, maybe every other day. But that for me has been a game changer, kind of going out in my mind a few months ahead of time and speaking what I want to happen as if it's already happened. It is, I cannot explain, but it literally changes what you feel. It changes what you think. It allows you to, be a bit more free, right? Because when you're under a ton of stress, sometimes you feel so constrained. And so that was one. Another time was in 2019, we had gotten to a place where, again, we didn't have like a really great revenue stream for our company. And that year, I had a lot of brand partners, but if you know about brand partnerships, sometimes, a net 30 ain't a net 30, right? So our finances wasn't coming in time. And I have bootstrapped HFR since the beginning. And that's why people get investment, because bootstrapping is hard to keep up with cash flow. And so I remember waiting on a particular check to be like cleared because I was in a time crunch. And I came home from the bank and I said to my mom, well, the guy said he's going to call me back, right? But the event was actually I believe it was the next day that I needed this for. And my mom looked at me and she said, Brandice, why are you here? You need to be at that bank. And I actually, it's such a long story, but I sat at that bank for like 5 hours. And I basically told the guy that I wasn't leaving his chair until we figured this out. And even once I finished at the bank and some things worked out, there was still so much that I still needed. And I remember God asking me, he said, my mom, my aunt, and my sisters were praying for me. We were on like a text thread. And he said, text them and tell them that it's all done. And y'all, it was not all done. There was still I think $40,000 that was needed. And I remember texting them that night and being so upset with God, because why would you tell me to tell them that it was already done? So when I said it's already done, they're all texting me back, oh my gosh, I knew God was going to come through. This is wonderful. This is amazing. I just rolled my eyes and went over and went to sleep. And I think when I look back on that, it goes back to, again, what I did in last year, which was God really wanted me to speak it. And there is something so powerful about what we allow to come out of our mouths. It ended up working out. Again, long story, but the next day it worked out. But I just remember that feeling. And so through that process, it was so hard and so painful that I said, you know what, for 2020, we're going to close $1 million in business for the first time. And we went into our 2019. I mean, me and my assistant went so hard, and we got very, very, very close to the goal. Well, little did I know, thank God we got close to the goal and we had contracts in hands, because when everything shut down in March of 2020, we actually had brand contracts in hand. And I don't know if I would have done that had I not gone through that really hard financial experience that then forced me to say, oh no, we're not doing that again. And 2020 actually ended up being one of our best years because we were able to pivot everything virtual, but it really was because of that hardship I had been through that pushed me to get the contracts for the next year, not knowing that we were going to be in the middle of a global pandemic. So it's interesting how sometimes the hard things, the messy things, really are preparation for what's coming after that. There's one thing that I've done for the last 17 years, and that is advocate for designers of color. And what's interesting is that when I started this in 2007, it wasn't a popular thing to do. Black designers really didn't like to be called Black designers. Retailers weren't interested in having this conversation at all. The fashion industry wasn't interested in having it at all. But I knew that this was a calling for me. Like, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that this was something I was supposed to do, because it bothered me so bad when I found out that designers of color represented less than 1% of designers sold in major department stores. And it was hard. I remember so many years where I'm just like, I feel like I am not making an impact. I feel like I'm not getting supported. Why am I even doing this? But I just knew that this was something that had to be out in the world, and that it was so much bigger than me. And so even the years when nobody paid attention, when no editor showed up, I just kept going. And so many times people challenged me and said, why don't you just make it for emerging designers? Why does it have to be emerging designers of color? And when you look at the stats and the figures, I was like, this is why. Like, look at the facts. And so I stuck with that one thing. And so it's you don't know when people are like watching you. You don't know what doors you're opening just by staying like true to the calling, right? Like, you don't know who you're going to help. You have no idea. And so I look at sometimes people kind of jump from like this thing to that thing to this thing to that thing, and they never get a chance to see like the one thing mature. And if you just stick with one thing for a long time, like, you actually get to see that thing graduate from elementary school and go to junior high school, then graduate from junior high school or middle school, they call it now, and go to high school. You get to see that thing go off to college, And so we abort the mission sometimes way too early, or way too fast. And from this, when 2020 happened and everybody was looking around and saying, well, who's been doing the work? We got a chance to work with so many brands after that, Levi's and like so many other brands, that LVMH, and we worked with Louis Vuitton and Bergdorf Goodman and all these companies that we got a chance to work with, because people looked around and they were like, but who's been doing the work? And that opened the door to all of these amazing designers of color, for collaborations, for opportunities, for connections, for access. And I think the biggest thing that happened for us was we started a nonprofit in 2020, which I had no plans to start. I was going to start a nonprofit in the decade, but the need was there. So I started it right in 2020, right when the pandemic happened. And we ended up getting a phone call from Stephen Coe and Anna Wintour at Vogue to say they were going to give our nonprofit $1 million donation that we could give out to designers. And I just think about the fact that if I had stopped, if I had quit, all of these designers would have missed out. We ended up giving out 27 grants. And so many of those designers say, Brandice, we could not have stayed in business without that grant. So sometimes, I know it's such a heavy burden when you're the person with the call, and now I'm getting emotional because it is heavy. But there are so many other people's destiny that is attached to your call. And if you can honestly just keep putting one foot in front of the other, don't worry about what's going to happen next month, next week, or next year. Sometimes you're in a place where you can't think about next week. You can literally only go, I can put one step in front of the other. And if you keep doing that, it is amazing to see the doors that will open, the lives that will be changed, the impact that you have because you're stuck with the one thing. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? We get one life, right? If we're blessed, we get 70 years. And I think, what's the point of the 70 years if you're not leaving anything that impacts others behind? So is it worth it? I don't think we have a choice. If you want to make the years of your life worth the space that you're taking up on the earth. So there are lots of personal sacrifices that you will have to make. I can't hardly think of one sacrifice that I haven't had to make, but is it worth it? Yes, absolutely, because it's what you're leaving behind for others. Now, there's a way that you can do it where it's not so hard. And that's what I wish I had known. I wish I had known that it's going to be hard, but it doesn't have to be as hard as you're making it. And one of those ways is finding someone who has been where you've been, that is really successful, and literally like modeling things after them. That was a game changer for me. It didn't take away the pain, didn't take away all the challenges, but it helped me so much. I have a mentor who's a really dear friend of mine, and like just hearing her talk about her business and being able to bounce things off of her has been game changing for me and really, really helpful. But I think none of us want to leave this life without leaving something behind, right? Like our life has to mean something. Like when you see that start date and that dash and the end date, like that dash need to mean something. And so because of that, it is absolutely worth it.
As I sat down and listened to Brandice Daniel, one, I couldn't help but cry, but I also couldn't help but reflect on my own life and some of the messiness around the things that really drove me to purpose. See, each of us have experienced moments of hardship and pain and adversity. I often talk about my difficulty during my childhood and all of the trauma that I faced in my childhood. And it was on a level that I think about now that could have been debilitating, right? It taught me so many things about myself, about people, about life, about God, and how He is faithful. Our stories of overcoming adversity should not set us back, right? But it should be a reminder that we are not defined by our pain. And there's a strength that exists in us that it's kind of like, if God be for you, who would dare be against you? It's that kind of boldness that when it is that you turn your pain into purpose, you are going to thrive, you are going to soar, but most importantly, you're going to realize that the pain was itself purposeful because it helped you. It helped you to be stronger and more courageous. I mean, and even thinking about Brandice, it helped you to achieve more. I love the quote when she said that her and her girlfriend got together and they started having conversations and just declaring that we have what it is that we want, and they were waiting for it to manifest. Because you know what happens when we do that? It is overcoming all of our obstacles to pursue purpose. I may not see it now. I may not feel strong enough now. I may not even feel courageous. You guys know my story. This here is a testament. Video, really? But I'm pushing past my fear and my pain and the vulnerability of you seeing me. That's it. That's all. You see me. I can't hide my flaws. I can't hide my nervousness, any of that. I just want to sit here and be real, because this is a part of my purpose. Telling stories and helping people to overcome the pain in their lives so that we could all pursue purpose. We are on a journey of being better people so that we could teach our children and we can model that there is a better way when you just examine yourself. It is my hope that you really enjoyed this episode. I mean, and think about some of the messiness in your life that's holding you back, and decide to be purposeful, even if it's just looking at it. Have a more than excellent day.